Oops. Oh, sorry about that. And hello, I'm Dan Lutz. I was just moving screens around and ended up cutting my music a little early. So sorry about that. Welcome to the a new broadcast, a new day. It's a Tuesday, May 14th, and I'm looking forward to this week. Should be very interesting. Now, Tank has started his radio broadcasts of the projects. I guess doing one project per day, and he's starting that basically 1 hour prior to this. So he'll be on in about 30 minutes or to an hour from now. It just depends on how things are going and where things will go. So thank you all for joining in. We do have things to cover. Now, one of the things that we've started with here about 3 months ago, and that's what kind of led to this, daily broadcast. It wasn't intended on being daily for so long. We're, knocking on 3 months. We set up to do 2 weeks on GCR, the big lie. And this is more important, I think, than ever to realize that this has some very far-reaching effects, because so many people have been so tied up, millions of people tied up their lives into the GCR, that it's very difficult to let go when everyone knew everyone around them, such as I did, that had very good intentions, people that are in respected positions in government or industries, banking, military, all participating. Now, this is, supposedly behind the scenes, outside the public view, because it's not going to be on the news channels. It's not going to be in the newspapers. But it's kept on this side of alternative media, basically websites, YouTube, chat groups, where they talked about the coordination of the GCR and how far-reaching this has been. Is it's reached to the hands of millions of people, and I don't think tens of millions, but 3 million, 5 million, hard to say, but that's quite a significant number of people. And to find out from what I've been saying with Tank on this broadcast, that it's a lie, is that what they've been organizing their life around has been a lie. Not that the lie is not that there was a GCR. It's just the intent behind it. that from the shadows that the cabal had reached out and basically infiltrated their lives to manipulate them into the destruction of everybody. And that's what's hard to accept. That you've been working towards this goal for many years, some even decades. I was told by my friend that they had actually thought of this global currency reset back in the 70s. Not calling it that, but in other words, a takeover of the world. Ronald Reagan coming into power, I think, was the thing that upset their plans. The internet took off. Internet was a much better system of control, so they needed to let that get developed. But that also pushed them up against a different deadline. That deadline was a cabal deadline, an internal cabal, goal to and basically take over the entire planet by 2012. There are certain agreements that came to that were continually renewed that basically allowed them to rule over us, and these renewals had to come up. In 2012 was where a lot of these agreements came to an end. This is by 2008 they had already registered all of the assets of the world. So why shouldn't they have completed their complete takeover at that time? But they did not succeed. They were not able to create a one world order, a new world order that they controlled. They missed their deadline. Now there was basically an agreement to extend. I do not know the details of that. Actually, that's probably a good question for when Tank comes on. Let's talk with them about the 5-year extension. Who granted that? Did the people of the world agree? I don't know how that actually happened. But during this 2012 period, there was something else had changed. In order for there to be agreements, there had to be two sides to it, right? Well, if you represent humanity and have all the assets, you can now speak out of authority and out of ownership. So Kim, on her 40th birthday, was given that trusteeship. But apparently, the way I understand this is that it was not known. It wasn't known to her at the time that occurred. But she was working with the controllers and doing their bidding when they asked her to do certain things, and she would comply. This actually taught her how to move funds, how to do things. So this is a period in which she's also then I believe the extension. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe the extension wasn't from 2012. Actually, another question to ask. There's sometimes, a lot of information, some things get a little jumbled up. It's good to get clarity on this. We'll ask Tank that question as well. So, in any case, the part of this is to do the GCR. Now, I got involved in the global currency reset based around historical bonds in 2014. It was said that these historical assets needed to be brought in so that they could clear the books. The debts had to be cleared out for there to be a reset, which makes sense. You have to account for everything. You don't want to reset everything. Everyone has their funds, and then everyone says, "But wait, what about me? I have this over here. I'm due this." to eliminate all of those possible problems of having the assets had to be, the debts owed had to be settled. So this took the form of asking for people to collect these things from around the world. Now, this is kind of a separate issue from the currency revaluation, the RV. That RV was based around Iraqi dinars. It was based around Zimbabwe dollars. And at times, there was other things put into it. The Indonesian rupiah was part of that as well. And these revaluations had gone on. Now, I don't know how well the Indonesian rupiah type fed into this, but I know that Sus Indo was printing up a new currency for Indonesia, and they had were replacing their currency. I don't know if that had anything to do with the revaluation. If that's why they're no longer people were talking about the Indonesian rupiah after that. But anyway, this GCR started to basically encompass everything, because everyone in the banking community says there's no money. All of the money that's been moving the system along has not been coming out. There's been no new allocations coming out from the assets, which you pull down assets to create cash. So these and that cash went out in the form of debt. So you couldn't create more debt. So in this system, debt is money. And so whenever you sign a note, you're creating a debt. That's money. You're exchanging debt. So it is unmoney. But so many people got tied up into this. So many people were focused on how they were going to now take their new revalued cash or redeemed assets of the historical bonds and do these projects. Everyone spent a lot of time organizing, spent money on attorneys, trusts, foundations, planning, waiting for the money. It's only going to be here tomorrow, so it's okay we wait one more day, and then one more week, one more month, next holiday. But the years just ticked by. Now, people don't like to change. When they're doing something and they think they're right, why would they want to change? But with all evidence to the contrary, the GCR never happened. They say it's happening even today. Yesterday, the day before, tomorrow. But the funds are never actually in the hands of the people to actually do anything. So the people that are now have put their lives into this don't want to let go of the GCR. We did a review yesterday of Restored Republic via the GCR. There was one from the 10th that we talked about last couple of days that said, that there was an intel freeze. No more. It's they pulled the plug on it. And we went over that, and of course they came out with another Restored Republic, and I've got another one queued up, so that we can actually go over the Restored Republic via the GCR. So and see what they're saying. Is it any different than every other time? Regurgitated over and over and over and over and over again. So that's the treadmill. That's the keep it going. And I guess when we started this, one of the things was to point out that the GCR cannot happen the way that we all envision it. No doubt that we are going to have a new economy. I used to kind of buy into, the people that I was working with, and their assessment of the situation that said, without a doubt, the dollar is going to collapse, and there's going to be really rough times. I no longer believe that, but I was on that team of saying, hey, yeah, let's get ready because we need to get started right away. As soon as it crashes, let's see if we can get this rolling. But quite frankly, it would have, if you let things crash, you start pumping money in afterwards. It's hard to get the money moved. No one has gas to move it. No one can get on the internet. They don't have money. Internet doesn't work because electricity wasn't paid for the bills. And the system collapses. It collapses back to the Stone Age. So we don't want that to happen, and it doesn't have to happen, and I don't think it will happen. I think that we've already shifted out of that reality. It's already way in the rear view mirror. We can adjust our rear view mirror and take a look. Is it anything? Is it there? No, it's not even following us anymore. But the people on the bus with us are still looking for that GCR money to flow into their hands because they need to do a trade, which is another interesting thing is this aspect of you have to trade one thing for another. This is also part of a system of the Babylonian system. I'll do something for you if you do something for me. The accounting system, there has to be a trade, which kind of completely removes the aspect of charity, right? The system doesn't support charity very well. It's even though there are charities that are in the system that accept a lot of money, but very little that makes it to the actual end goal. It just feeds the beast. So these type of things that we've been working towards, in our hearts, we want the best, for abundance, to cover the basics for people, so people are not never starving, never without water, never without shelter, never without clothing. The system should be able to support that, right, in a way that works, and not all about charity. And I'm not talking about charity, and I'm not talking about government distribution. Because as soon as you have government do anything, that there's no humanity in it. There's no life in that. It has to come from the people in a way. Now we can have tools available, and I'm a big believer in using what we have now, this technology, to allow us to create a system like that is for the abundance of everyone, and it will look quite different. Think different. We have to look at things from a completely different way. We do have a model. It's just the reverse of what is there already. Reverse it. This is a very as far to the dark side as it's swung. We know what it is that we want to get away from. So, systems that are abundance, which means that they're continually growing outwards for infinite. The universe is a vast place. It's not limited. When we think from limitation, that's when that scarcity mindset comes into play. Once you think out of scarcity, that brings in greed, hoarding, gluttony, lust, coveting. These things all come from the idea that there's not enough. And when they and in this current system, they create things that are harmful or that and make boogeymen out of things. CO2 that we breathe out and give to plants, they want to tax. A tax on breathing because you're bad. Why are you bad? You're causing the death of the planet because you're breathing. So shouldn't everyone be killed off? Come on, save the planet. You know, take it back to 90% of what we have of the population. Just take it back to 10%. Eliminate 90%, and it doesn't stop there. The Georgia Guidestones, 500 million, 500 million people. Well, where's the other 7.5 billion go? How do they get rid of them? Go to the doctor and get a shot? Have your kids get shots? No reproduction? Yesterday I showed a picture of my grandchild. My daughter's pregnant. She runs an ultrasound business in San Diego. And they make, she just has doctor referrals. The women come in and she does the ultrasound. And she has like the best equipment. Wonderful. But she says she's talking with these women who are having a lot of problem getting pregnant. They're trying to kill us off because we're bad, right? Harvesting program, as Thomas likes to say. So the people that have been, tied into the GCR don't want to accept that they've been working for an agenda that would actually be the opposite of what they've been thinking it's about. That it's about the destruction of the planet, not the rebirth. They don't want to accept that. But they still accept that tomorrow the funds will be there. It's already happened. I mean, day after day, same thing over and over. But I know so many of my friends that have been involved with this that end up with no money left. They've been squeezed dry because they've been putting their efforts of creating behind this effort. They've been sidelined. If you want to crash the world economy, sideline all the creators. And that's what the cabal has done. Sidelined everybody. So it's hard to accept this. I admitted I was wrong. I beat back my suspicions for a long time because of the people around me. Good people. I beat back those suspicions. Things that didn't quite make sense to me. I tried to rationalize and think, how could this be possible? Numbers never made any sense. I went through this thought experiment with everyone here a few days ago. It's about if let's just say there was 1 million people in the GCR, not 5 million, or let's say 1 million, and not having 10 or one quad of $100 trillion notes, but you only had one. Every one had 100 trillion. So there's been talk of those being exchanged one for one US dollar for one of the Zimbabwe dollars. And you have 100 trillion of those. So you have 100 trillion US dollars times 1 million people. Is that 18 zeros? Everyone has that cash. That's bigger than the world economy by many factors. 1 year's GDP is 100 trillion. I think it's 114 trillion. So if everyone had all of that money all at one time, not talking about the people that had, a quad or 10 quad or a container or 100 containers or 1,000 containers of currency, the revaluation. And not the super big amounts of the boxes of historical bonds. But just the not even doing 100 to 1 on the I'm sorry, not 1 for 1 on the $100 trillion notes. But let's bring that down to a penny, to $1. I remember a lot of times they were saying 16 cents, for each dollar. Okay, that's 16 trillion. 1 cent would be 1 trillion. All right. And even if it was down to 100th or thousandths of that, and it was a billion, everyone has a billion. We now have 1 million billionaires that hit the streets. 1 billion millionaires for the first time having money. What are they going to do? They're going to buy stuff. So we're programmed. Buy. What can we buy? Well, we want Lear jets, we want islands, we want cars, the best of the cars, the best of the houses. So all those things get snapped up, but you think that there's 1 million Lear jets coming off the assembly line? No. Is there 1 million Lear jets out there on the market of old Lear jets? No. Luxury cars, okay, but are there 1 million of the best luxury car out there? 1 million Bentleys? Maybe you divide it up, but is there 100,000 of any of the top cars? They come off the assembly line? No, they're doing these in the tens of thousands at the top of the top. Sure, you can get some of the basic luxury vehicles, and they make those by the hundreds of thousands. That's okay. And so, but still, that's a lot of vehicles, 1 million of them, all in the first day. This is going to cause the price of everything to rise dramatically. So until the point where you need $100 trillion to buy lunch. So are you actually then rich anymore? Or does that currency seem valueless? So the GCR is not going to go through because they don't have access to the asset. So they weren't able to pull it down. They weren't able to create that new currency and move it into the GCR. They've been playing around with creating their own using reallocation, using the allocation numbers again and again, and then basically counterfeiting their own money. Well, this is mostly digital in the computers anyway, not printed cash, but there is printed cash, and they'll have printed recycled numbers on it. Previous cash that had a reallocation on it. The money is supposed to go into the system, out into the economy, and make it back to the banks. And after a period of time, it's pulled off. It goes to pay for things, 10 times, 15 times before it makes it back into the hands of the bank, and the bank pulls it out. So this has been very difficult for a lot of people to accept. But just think about this. There's people that are rioting about this. There are generals that were promised that they would get paid years ago. Mercenaries out there that were promised they would get paid. Do they get cash out of their accounts? Yeah, they make sure that they can pay out when when these mercenaries, their protectors are out there getting a car or something like that. Oh yeah, they make sure that money flows into their account for payment for things. But they have no access to all of their funds. They want to go and take cash out and go, let's say, buy gold. You think they'd be able to do it? Sure, they could do it in small amounts. The system, had so much cash awash in it that you can pull stuff out and go and take it and pull it into asset. Right? If the cash just floats and circulates in the system, so the system keeps going. But with no new allocation coming in, it gets squeezed, and that's what we're in. We're in the squeezing out phase. It's cannibalizing itself. It's the poor have absolutely nothing. They get subsistence from hopefully from the government or from friends. They pool together, but it moves up and keeps taking more and more of the last amounts. Till it gets to those creator types that want to actually make a new world and are very motivated to do so, and removes their ability to do anything because they've been focused on their new project that the money will never come from for. So this is difficult for people to let go. So now I understand, like when Kent Dunn is calling me cabal or calling Tank cabal. Does it really make sense for the cabal to do this? They want the system to crash. Well, I mean that's my side of things, right? So this is what we've been saying. It's going to crash with all this coming in. But putting money back into the system has to be done in a way, and like Kim says, 5 trillion a quarter, I think is the number that could go out into the world, and start lifting it up. 5 trillion. That's 5 of those million people, right? It had a trillion each, or if we said it's 1,000 of the billionaires, 5,000 billionaires out there with that billion every quarter getting money. That would be the limit to what the system could absorb and not cause mayhem. So that's why looking at projects is the way to go. Yeah, actually, I was looking at the chat, the comment section of the video from yesterday, and someone was basically upset with it. Just release all the money to everyone. Why are you excluding everybody? And I replied, there is no exclusion. It's just you can have a project of one person. One man can make a project and take care of the things they need to in their life. There's not really a restriction. Just to be used for humanity, and you're a human, supposedly. So, we have a lot to do, and it's not. Don't think about the bad parts of things. Don't think because you're not having a GCR, you can't. You're excluded. Right? But it's you that are going to be stopping yourself initially, because if money is flowing right now for projects, and when Tank comes on, we'll ask the question, get the update. It's already 35 minutes in, so he said 9:30 to 10 he'll be on. So if you think that that you're waiting around is going to help if we're moving forward, it's not. You're going to be in denial. You'll be angry. You'll try to negotiate. I'm missing one of those stages of grief. Yeah, then the final stage is acceptance, but there's one more I'm missing. But anyway, but right now many people are in denial, and when the good thing is if Kent Dunn is actually lashing out, it's because he's angry, and that's a good thing. So again, Kent, I welcome you to come on and discuss this. I'm willing to discuss all the issues. I'll even address my being cabal, no part of the cabal. You know, if I was cabal, I'd be in a much better situation. Except I could never be. I couldn't follow those their religion is just not where I can go. So I think what we can do is move on. Tui, just in case you're listening, I did send you the link. You're welcome to join in as well. And I will go to the Restored Republic via the GCR from May 12th. And we'll get that a little review of that as we go, see what's said there.
Restored Republic via GCR update as of May 12th. Sign of a good moral being. Good moral beings have the power. Wednesday, January 2nd, Gitmo military tribunals began. Monday, January 28th, 9/11 tribunal began at Gitmo. Wednesday, April 24th, IRS shut down. Functions had long been shifted to a new U.S. Treasury in Reno, along with its other locations across the U.S. Friday, April 26th.
Just a point on that, and we kind of talked about this yesterday with Tank. The Reno being this new treasury was under a different republic, right? That's out of France. So we will have to get to the bottom of this somehow. To what is the rightful republic? Reconstituting is probably not the right word. Revitalizing might be better. How do we revitalize it? How do we put it back? There was a constitutional crisis that was put in place during the Civil War where the southern states walked out without adjourning. So without adjourning, you can't reopen the Constitution. So that's why there was a problem, and Abraham Lincoln came up with the solution of the incorporated entity, USA Incorporated, that ran out of Washington, D.C., and was formed out of Puerto Rico. Was created as a way in which they could conduct the operations of government from a corporation. So how do you restore the republic? Not via the GCR. Anyway, we'll continue.
Mass arrests of global elites were reported to be in full swing on the over 90,000 indictments filed in federal courts across the nation since Trump took office.
Mass arrests, I have not seen anything about that. Interesting. I do believe that we're going to see, based on what QAnon has been saying, is that there will be some serious charges of treason coming out this week. Now, this may be this time frame might be off a week or even two, but because there's a lot of misdirection to get the cabal to use their ammunition, means that they create some sort of event. And when that event happens, you get distracted. IPOT, Pursuit of Truth, YouTube channel, they use a signal to mean when they create these events. He calls it foxtrot, as a code for everyone to know. This is to avoid being picked up by the AI on things. So this is one of those times where we can see that there is events shaping up. And I do believe it's Brennan that's going to go down this week. Comey to follow. So are there going to be mass arrests going along with that at the same time? It is possible. There's also a high probability that there'll be events that are going to be looking like rioting that are going to be happening. So be prepared. Have your stores of food, 2 weeks worth. Maybe I should start selling those survival provisions. Anyway. All right, let's continue.
Wednesday, May 1st, the GCR RV window opened. Gold asset-backed Iraqi dinar USTN started international trading platforms. Prosperity packages began to be delivered.
I don't know how many times I've heard this over the years. UTNs have started trading. UTNs have started trading. Have they? In the way they have been, and they've been for a long time. Does anything come of it? It's just another currency being traded. So it's been happening. But why do they say it's starting now? Does this seem like good intel?
Friday, May 3rd, Trump and Pompeo signed off on the RV. Sun. May 5th, the cabal was unable to pay what was owed the US. While Trump was in the UK, another deal was worked out, causing a 24-hour delay in the RV. Monday, May 6th.
So Trump went to England? I didn't catch that. Delayed for 24 hours. Is this making sense to anybody?
The RV started up again with live rates on the bank screens. There was an attempt to use the court system to slow prosperity package delivery. A crew went to Florida and were able to get deliveries started again, a big win for CMKX holders. More reported receiving prosperity packages. Tuesday, May 7th.
I don't know what these CKMX packages are. I really don't. So I really can't comment on it. So maybe someone can give some enlightenment to that. Well, Tank may be on shortly. It's another 15 minutes or so.
UK deal was done, signed, sealed and delivered. A slow rollout of the RV continued. Much of Tier 3 had been paid. Iran was trying to shut down the Straits of Hormuz. Oil markets were affected and a rise on oil and gas prices began. The Dow dropped into the red over 500 points at opening and remained there at close, the beginnings of collapse of the economy and replacement of the fiat dollar. Zimbabwe would house a new world reserve currency. Wednesday, May 8th, we were past the point of no return on the RV rollout expected to complete during a stock market crash. Thursday, May 9th, at opening the Dow dropped again after Trump said China broke the deal, resuming the market sell-off which had functioned in or near the red since all gains for the year were lost by October 1st, 2018.
So all of this talk about, look at what's happening in the economy. Look over here. There's a reason, there's a reason, there's a reason. There is no reason other than it's not going to happen. But they want to point out reasons why it's not happening yet.
www.cnbc.com web link Tier 3 completed. Friday, May 10th, effective at midnight, sanctions on China imports to the US were expected to...
Sorry, I also heard that Tier 3 completed. As far as I know, Tier 3 was completed at least 4 times that I know of. Completed Tier 3. How many times have we heard it? If it's completed, how can it be completed again and again and again? And now Tier 4 is A and B now. I mean, where did that come from? How did A and B come out of, how did they split up Tier 4? Tier 4 is where everyone gets paid, right? Oh, by the way, I'm getting paid on Tier 3 somewhat. I didn't get paid. So don't think that that it's ever going to be coming because of what tier you're on. It never happens.
The cause of further stock market implosion. All banks were Basel III-4 compliant and placed on high alert, along with security forces worldwide. The new TRNs.
2015, December. Not all banks were compliant, Basel III compliant. The last one that just came in just under the wire for the deadline of being on compliant was Citibank, and because they did this waited so long, we couldn't have the GCR. So they were all compliant back then at that point. And I've heard them all along the way saying they're compliance with Basel. And now they're talking, oh, it's a Basel 3 or Basel 4 they're supposed to be compliant with.
Had been installed in banks for release. Iraqi borders were locked in. Sat. May 11th, beginning of a 2-week transitional period of economic and political chaos. Monday, May 13th, markets claimed that the GCR started in earnest on Monday, May 13th, and the 800 number would be out. Some have been told they could redeem their historic bonds as funding arrived on Monday, May 13th. As the stock market crashed, the removal of cabal deep state elements would begin in 209 nations of the GCR via local military and law enforcement. Central banking would be eliminated. Japan, Dutch, Greece, European, Italy, Turkey and Lebanon central banks were already failing as world currency.
Well, what's replacing that? Central banks are failing. What's replacing it? They just, oh, it's gone? What is happening? What, when they make statements like this is, well, okay, well, what is to be in place? Wouldn't you want to do it where you already had something in place and it was already in operation and moving funds around in the world? That system doesn't exist. It should be going side by side, allowing the removal of the old system over a period of, say, a year.
Reset to a gold standard. The Zimbabwe dollar became the world reserve currency, and world governments, including the US, were reformed under GCR compliance. Wednesday, May 15th.
And where did that GCR come from again? I know that's where GCR came from. GCR just popped up on the scene one day because it said, well, what about the rest of us in the world? Why is this only for the GCR, just for the US? What about us? Well, why can't we have our GCR? Why can't we be included? Okay, we got GCR. By popular demand. Where's the legal system that formed and created GCR? Who voted on it?
The general public would begin exchanges. This deadline may have been moved forward 2 weeks. Friday, May 24th. Within this last 2 weeks, Zim redemption was expected to end use of the fiat dollar while reviving the stock market as the Zim became the new world reserve currency. June, though in effect since May 2nd. The GCR would be formally announced. Also, in early June, the IG Horowitz report would be made public, implicating, among other political elites, Obama and Clinton in treasonous acts. August 1st, new income tax code announcement: no personal income tax. In its place, a value-added tax, VAT, or 23% tax on new items only, no tax on used items, food or medicine, with special exceptions for the poor. This flat tax code would be effective on January 1st, 2020. On October 1st, martial law would be declared if the deep state and their Democratic Party did not conform to constitutional law. B. May 11th, 2019 SAT. Coffee with Markets. Coffee with Markets and Friends Saturday Q&A. www.pscp.tv weblink. www.twitch.tv weblink. Markets disclaimer. Please consider everything on this call as my opinion. People who take notes do not catch everything, and it's best to watch the video so that you get everything in context. Be sure to consult a professional for any financial decisions. 1. A couple of key people. Big players and the signatory of the elders arrived in Reno last night, Friday, May 10. I am told the elders were very content when they left DC to go to Reno. There was a friend of mine called back to Reno at the last minute as well from the East Coast out west. It's very positive that the heads of groups and attorneys were called back. 2. There was a very...
So it's interesting. So if the heads of these of the attorneys and everyone was called back, why is this positive? It doesn't say anything. This is just like someone went somewhere to someplace. It doesn't mean anything in particular. If they went back for a reason, what is the reason? You just can't say it's positive. You don't know. But this is a spin, how to make things, give you information to latch on to. Right, so you can pass on that information. They went back, so something's happening. Something's happening because they went back.
Large group said to release to their members on Tuesday, May 14th. 3. Eagle 1 2025, China and the elders went to DC and it went very well. The meeting with Trump went well. My sources were saying that the day the China deal went down in DC, the news reported it as bad. It was not bad. It was good. China markets even went up. 4. I had a friend that received his CMKX package Thursday evening, May 9th. 5. My bond person was allowed to do most of their paperwork yesterday, Friday, May 10th. They were told they can redeem their historic bonds on Monday, May 13. Funding will arrive on Monday, May 13. 6. Eagle 1 2025, on Tuesday, May 14.
Well, by the way, it is Tuesday for me. Monday is over. I didn't get a call. No one said, oh, my historical bonds have been redeemed. Go get your jet.
This should be good news from the banks. 7. The slow rollout makes no sense to me. 8. Remember, I am hearing the GCR
The no rollout makes sense to me. No rollout makes sense to me. There's not going to be a rollout. Can't be. They don't have the assets.
Starts in earnest on Monday, May 13, and the 800 number will be out for RV by Monday, May 13 at the latest. Good source. 9.
Should I say it? Should I say it? I don't have my 800 number.
Filming Junior, I know that there were some exchanges taking place at HSBC, but not in this country as of yet. I also know that Wells Fargo and Chase were going to be getting started on Monday, May 13th or Tuesday, May 14th. 10. I have a very large group set to distribute on Tuesday, May 14th. They have seen proof of funds. I believe we are finally about to cross the finish line. 11. Eagle 1.
So tomorrow would be, Tuesday there. I'm in Tuesday already. I can see from the future that this is not going to occur. But let's see, tomorrow if it's any different.
2025, HSBC and bank meetings were going on. I said that Tuesday, May 14th would be a day that open meetings were going on Monday, May 13th and Tuesday, May 14th. 12. We have always been told they may declare martial law because they were worried about runs on banks and things during the reset. It may or may not happen. 13. Mr. May always said the best time to deliver Omega packages was on a Sunday evening. 14. Eagle 1 2025. Banks would be still in meeting Monday, May 13 and Tuesday, May 14. Military teams Alpha Tango teams were still on standby for a green light. 15. Infilman Jr. Everything starts in the east and moves west. 16. I have heard that the Zim might go before the rest of the RV from some people, including a couple attorneys. Doesn't make sense to me, but it is possible. 17. Eagle 1 2025. Zim could go by itself. Nothing holding that back from going. It looked very close for the Zim. I talked to my Asia contacts about this last year. I see this happening very soon. 18. Eagle 1 2025. It has been talked about that the Zim could go alone. Fleming was reporting that the Zim was being exchanged in another country. 19. Infilming Jr. Most Zim was owned by Americans. 20. Infilming Jr. I was told by a large platform trader that the Zim would be redeeming within the next few days. 21. You are getting exactly what I have heard. 22. Eagle 1 2025. There was a high security meeting taking place in the Middle East. 23. Eagle 1 2025. Bank meetings were still going on in Europe and Asia. There were 3 heads from Europe having meetings in regard to this RV. 24. I think gold would go to about $6,000 with the reset and then settle at the $1,500 to $2,000 per ounce rate. 25.
Well, what's the gold price have anything to do with it? Just curious. Let's throw that in. Yeah, the price of gold. Yeah, I think the price of gold is going to basically go to about $20,000 an ounce over probably a year's period. And I think Bitcoin just went up to 8,000 today. It went from 5,000 up to 8,000 in the last 5 days.
It was my opinion that the IRS would be gone, and we would have a value-added tax, VAT, instead of an income tax. I expected laws to change, so I'm not worried about it. 26. Member, RV, GCR proof it's real. March 2019. The global economic reset begins with an engineered crash. www.zerohedge.com web link.
So it starts with an engineered crash. Why do they want it to crash? Why not just go ahead and start the engines? Why cause misery? Is this the benevolency? If you're all set and ready to go with a whole new architecture all ready to go, why wouldn't you just start putting the money out there into the hands? Hey, up to tier 3 has been complete. Where's that money flowing into projects? Where is it happening? Why isn't it happening?
DG www.bloomberg.com web link. C. May 11, 2019, 1:09 a.m. East. Intel Alert. Operation Disclosure. GCR. RV Intel Alert for May 11th, 2019. Operation Disclosure. Disclaimer. The following is an overview of the current situation of the world based on intelligence received from several sources which may or may not be accurate or truthful. 1. The Earth Alliance's plan to collapse the fiat debt-based financial system is nearly complete. 2. These plans.
So it's their plans to crash everything. I thought that these were the good guys, right? That the alliance has taken over, and pushed the cabal out. So it's good to think, in good terms about the secret space program and them flipping and coming on our side. But does it sound like that if they want to crash the system, the engineered crash of the system, is that really good for everybody? No, it's not. It means no electricity, no water, no food. This is not a good thing. The system is so interdependent on things happening electronically, just-in-time inventories, payments for the truckers to pay for their gas to move things from point A to point B. You don't want the crash to happen. So rooting for it is a very big problem. Yay, crash, now I can get my money? Does that really seem like it's the best thing for all of everybody? No. We've got, another 2.5 minutes.
Had been in the making after the events of 9/11 and set in motion after the collapse of 2008. 3. The US-China trade war and Brexit were the final stages of these plans. 4. Brexit was designed to collapse the European Union government and remove the City of London from cabal control. 5. The trade war would lead to repercussions that would trigger a total collapse of the financial system. 6. During the collapse, a 2-week transitional period was expected until the new quantum financial system, QFS.
So it would take 2 weeks for it to take over the new QFS system, right? What are people going to do for 2 weeks? And if the system collapses, it doesn't take 2 weeks to put it back up and running. It doesn't. It takes years.
Was fully implemented. 7. During this 2-week transitional period, the removal of all cabal, deep state elements would begin in every nation via local military and law enforcement.
So that's what it's going to take, right? So at that time, it'll take 2 weeks to wrap up and get everybody. Well, I think it's going to take longer than 2 weeks to grab everybody. And plus, by the way, while this grab is taking place, you have no new food coming in, no water, no gasoline, no electricity. Okay, how are they going to do that during this shutdown of the world?
Enforcement. 8. Once the QFS was implemented, all currencies would be reset to a gold standard. 9. The Zimbabwe dollar would become the world reserve currency due to the millions of tons of untouched gold under the country's soil. 10. The QFS would also monitor all transactions to prevent secretive backroom deals and the manipulation the cabal has done in the past century.
So just a point is like these riots that have been going on in Zimbabwe by the military generals, right? Demanding their revaluation, demanding their RV because they've been paid, right? They're sitting on containers loads of this currency. They're ready. They want prosperity. They want it now. Give them their prosperity package. They're sitting on all that gold ready to go. Why do they not have money? Buried in the ground? Well, it's a good concept to think that you're going to be able to access that and go and grab it. But how do you revalue it? I'm sorry, not revalue. How do you value it while it's in ground? How much does it take to get it? So, anyway.
11. Central banking would be eliminated. 12.
And replaced with? Central bank will be eliminated and replaced with. What are they replacing it with? They're going to really get rid of the central banks. Great, wonderful. There's no more. And how does the money flow?
IRS would be eliminated.
I thought it was eliminated.
13. All governments would be reformed under GCR compliance. 14. Sources.
What are the GCR compliance regulations? Where's the law?
There isn't one.
Who voted on it? Oh, hey, hey, Tank.
Hey, man.
I'm just reviewing Restored Republic via the GCR for the May 12th.
Oh, that's a new one. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Anything new? Anything?
Oh, yeah. The GCR happened. You know,
Oh.
the central banks will be eliminated.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. Yeah. No more central banks. And then they said, and there's a 2-week there's a 2-week transition period until the quantum financial system comes online. So they have an engineered collapse that they allow everything to collapse. And then 2 weeks later, they're going to restart everything. Well, what happens in the 2 weeks? Why can't they start the quantum system 2 weeks prior to the 2-week collapse?
Well, and then on top of that, I don't know what the quantum financial system is, because they tried to say the Microsoft database data processing system, Hercules, that was a quantum system. No, it's not. The real quantum system is able to span forward and backwards through time and space, map all aspects of anything that carries any type of frequency on the entire planet and throughout the universe. I don't think it's limited. Certainly not by time, but definitely not by trying to come online, right? So basically what they're doing is they're trying to give you 2 more weeks that we're going to try to implement our New World Order / genocide / we think we're better than you, so we're going to kill all of you plan, right? So that is never going to happen. It is the worst decision they ever made. They basically announced, hey, look, we're going to go try to kill Kim again, and then we're going to try to hack the system. Then we're going to try to steal assets and pretend that they're there, leverage them, and create fake money. What do you guys think? Is that new? Is that fresh? It's not fresh. We see what you're doing. It's lame. It's lame. Anybody stop following it. If you have heard me talk about this, stop following it. It's never, ever, 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 ever going to happen. Ever.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's good. No, I'm not going to continue with it. I mean, it's the same thing. There's nothing new. I was saying exactly the same thing I said last time we reviewed it. So there is just nothing that's new there. It's all the same thing, except now I'm just kind of being more critical about, saying it doesn't make any sense. What they're saying. It's like, why let the system crash first? You have it all. We have the engineered crash, but 2 weeks later we'll start up with something new. Why would you do that? Does that make any sense?
Well,
why not run side by side for the next year? Right. So there's no mayhem, no problems. Why do you want there to be all of this catastrophe?
Well, top of my head, just kind of riffing here. So let's think about it. Now, who really loses? Now, if you are part of the group that really owns the corporations, right? You own the corporations, you own the ones that are trading on the stock market. Now, so when things happen, it's usually because you decide they do, right? I actually watched this happen with a very, very rich guy, who we knew for a little while, and he said, "Should I adjust the cost of metal, right, or the scrap metal, whatever it was?" Should I adjust the cost? Because if I do, it's gonna whatever I do is gonna completely change the market, right? That's how much he knew what he was doing, right? He took one move and he let us call it, right? Made a decision. He changed it. Stock went up like $1, $2, something like that. He goes the other way, it would have dropped $10, right? And he would have lost X amount of dollars. It was a decision, right? That's how simple they could manipulate the market, right? Just by one guy making that decision.
Yeah.
And it was whole retirements that could have been lost. Whole retirements because he owned 90% of the entire market, right? Or like him and like three other people, right? But all the people who invested their little sum of money, what they want to do is they want to take every bit of life, every ounce of vitality you have. So right now they're desperate because we cut off their feeding supply, and we're not afraid of them. And because when you are fearless and you are not intimidated, and you refuse to allow them to bully you, what happens is they're starving to death. They live on fear. They don't know what to do when they yell really loud and say mean things and make big threats. And we're like, so get out of here. Like, what are you going to do? The worst thing you could do is take my life. But the energy I have created will never die. It'll never die. You'll never stop it.
I remember that one Star Trek episode where they had this like angel, that the children were like worshiping this angel, right? And as long as they were, they had, they were like worshiping, he had power, right? And as soon as they turned against him, he just shriveled up, right, and just disappeared.
That is absolutely right, because they operate and function with no honor and no integrity. They don't honor the agreements that we establish, and they don't honor their own agreements. They are dead set. Right now, it is a travesty that the military hasn't gone in and completely taken over every one of these stupid banks and the useless criminals that are stopping real projects from being funded, that are stopping progress being made in the world, that are stopping disaster relief, that are allowing 16,000 children to starve to death on a planet that has unlimited potential and resources. And we literally regenerate vegetation directly from the earth enough to feed the whole world. They've created the illusion that there's not enough nutrients in the soil by salting the plains in Africa. They've destroyed, acres and acres of cashew trees that take 20 years to get fruit to devastate economies. They have taken every step. Everything they've done has been ruthless evil. They have now, and I will say this, I won't even call it evil. I would say that they are serving their interest and their masters, and their masters and their interests are dedicated to feeding on us. We are not equals in their mind to them, and they're right. We are not equals. We are not equal because we have the ability to generate from nothing. We can create out of nothingness. They can't do that. They are a cancer. All they can do is devour the cells around them to feed off of our energy. But all we have to do is use our energy to eliminate them, and that cancer will leave the body. It'll transmute, and the body will be healthy again. Now, I want a healthy human body on this planet. So I want action to be taken. Everybody can take this action. Go out and buy some borax, right? And, and crack open your pineal gland, right? Go do some research on it.
Well, I think I want to get some granite dust.
No doubt, it's pretty amazing. I hadn't heard that before. I got to talk to him more about it.
Yeah, I was listening to your. I didn't catch his name. I kind of tuned in a little bit in the middle to see if, because I knew you were starting your project shows, and he was talking about you getting granite from the tombstones from the grinders, right, and using it as a way to mineralize plants, right, so that they then change that minerals into organic minerals that we can use.
Well, I don't agree with people coming on the show and not using their name. I understand that people are afraid, and I was talking to the production team that are amazing about it today, and because I didn't really address it until today, I didn't think it was fair not to bring him on. But I am going to talk to the good doctor about that, because this is a time where it requires courage. If you want to be part of changing the world, you have got to realize they don't have any power to take anybody out.
Yeah.
They don't have that. And by hiding behind fake name, look, I use the name Tank, but everybody knows my name is Stephen Rao. I'm not hiding that.
Yeah.
Everybody, the reason why I don't mind people calling me Tank, and actually I prefer it, is so I know how you know me, because nobody in my family calls me Tank. So if someone calls up and they ask for Tank, I know how they know me. It makes my life easier. That's the only reason why I allow that to happen. But I like that name as well, because it always reminds me that you get in the way of a moving tank and you will get run over. It keeps me grounded that we are on task, on mission. And change comes from the people, and the energy created every single day by the people can shift so quickly. You would be amazed at the difference we can make. If I could just get enough people just to recognize, if you just responded to these fools with love, if you just stood up with integrity, if you just showed that your purpose is so much more powerful than their poison, you would realize that there is nothing in between you and greatness, you and freedom. There is nothing there except for you. All of us, the collection, the collective, the collective consciousness. There is nothing more powerful in the universe. And if we just commit to using that for the greatest good of everybody in the universe, we can get rid of this dead weight that is standing in our way.
Yes. No, well, I like the doctor that was on, so I know what you're saying. But yeah, I agree. One of the reasons why, when I first started doing my broadcasts, I found this position of moving my laptop up on these boxes and everything to literally get more of a close up on my face, because I didn't want to hide. I wanted to be able to see people to see my eyes, because eyes are windows to the soul, right? Know that what I'm trying to say is from my heart.
Absolutely.
Now, I just noticed also on here on a first time event, I'm sharing my screen. I was looking at the chat, but it looks like for the very first time, someone has sent me $1 or $2. Jeg sent me $2. I really
Awesome.
appreciate that, Jeg. And then a little further down, I saw another $1. So $3 from Jeg. I highly appreciate that. You're the first. This is a momentous day. Now I know that this actually works. Actually, I don't know how to receive the money on the other side.
I'm sure it'll be included. I'm sure it'll be included somehow.
I'm sure I'll figure out how to get that. But I do appreciate a donation, and I'm glad to see that it actually does work.
Yeah.
So let's get to the update. Any update that we can talk about today?
There's nothing that I have permission to share that's specifically related to transfers being put out at this time. I can tell you that all efforts are being made, and obviously there is the belief that the RV has happened and it's all going down, and the Treasury says they're going to have the money tomorrow, which is what they said on Friday, but now Tuesday's a different day because if I could spit off some GCR rhetoric.
Mother's Day was interfering.
Yeah, they wanted to wait for everyone to spend Mother's Day with their family to reevaluate their their personal morals and reconnect with family, because that's what's most important. And that's
their vibration could be set, because there was some negative vibration out there from the agents that were telling people that the GCR is a lie.
Right. So now Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday has always been the banking week, the only time the bankers work. So obviously we'll start exchanges in that time. Something to that effect, I would imagine, is the latest nonsense they're spitting out there. Listen, I am begging you. I am begging you, for the sake of your children, for the sake of your own integrity, for the sake of everyone around you. The RV is not going to happen. You want evidence, you want proof, then you have got to stand up and stop believing the most ridiculously absurd lie. After a while, it isn't their fault. If someone keeps lying to you, You watch them poison your food. You watch them beat you. You know who's doing it. You know every time it comes. Then they tell you, why do you make me do this? And you take responsibility for it. After a while, it's your fault. It's your fault. Now, I'm not trying to discourage anybody. Not everybody's doing that, right? But I'm telling you, let go of that because there's an option. You can come help us change the world. You can make your life better. And I'll bet you, if you just tap into your real soul purpose, if you just allowed yourself to feel the energy of being part of this change, that you are not just one of the people waiting on salvation, but you are one of the people who is part of the change. You will feel what I'm saying to you. You will feel the power of that in you, and you will realize you are not a slave to them. Resist. Don't let them treat you that way. Somebody lies to you over and over again, then blames you for it. It is them. It is them. But if you refuse to accept that truth, because the masses, when has the masses ever been the good way to go? When have you ever seen a massive group of people and you thought they all figured it out? No. In that mass of people, there is millions of individuals with personal dreams, identities, styles, structure, intelligence, all types of ideas. Be an individual and stand up. Stop bowing down to something that is no greater than you. Man, I'm fired up. I'm ready to get this thing done.
Oh, I know. I had my soapbox moments while you were on. On the other, I wish I was able to hear the rest. I'll go back and I'll listen to the rest of because I got off just 5 minutes before the hour from listening to what you're saying. Also, Ronald Rafferty also sent me $2. So I'm really excited to see that there's something.
It's good. I'm glad it's working. It's great.
That's happening. Yeah, I can use the support. I definitely can. So I appreciate that. And look at in the link below. It's a Where We Go One We Go All.love website, and there are $1 a month subscriptions for site. Now, still building it out. I was working on an article for the blog to put that out, and but at least register, see if you like it, and if you want to participate and contribute there. There's a $1.11 a month and an $8.88 a month, and a $99.99 a year, as well as a free site, the free part where you get the blogs. It's just the interaction. We start getting into like the forums and interacting. That's the $1.11 a month. So I appreciate you want to participate and help me build that. Let's go.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So can't say anything about what's going on with him. Now, I was kind of reviewing some things about what had happened, how we got into the GCR, and what was happening with the financial system and Kim's getting into place. And I came up with a question I wanted to ask you because I wasn't quite certain. So there was the agreements, I guess, the end of an infinity agreement, a 499-year agreement, I'm assuming, that came to the end. Was it in 2008 or 2012?
I think there's two kinds of infinity agreements. I think one is 499 years and one is 99 years. And that came to an end in 2012. That was a 100-year agreement. I believe that was implemented with the Federal Reserve.
Okay.
So the Federal Reserve came into existence in 2013. I believe it was December 23rd, 2013. So it came to an end in December 23rd or 27th, something like that, in 2012. Then they were given a 5-year extension to return the assets to the people.
And that was the what I want to ask you about, the extension. Who authorized the extension, and what was it for?
Well, that was Marduk, who was the previous comptroller, and he authorized that to give them those 5 years. to return the assets to the people, is my understanding, right? That's what they're supposed to do. But they just took it as and maybe this was the actual terms. I'm not exactly sure on this. And they took those 5 years as they had 5 more years to implement their new world order. So, but it was never his intention to allow that to happen. The entire system was set to cannibalize itself by 2017, which is what we're witnessing now, which is why the banks are all completely insolvent. Because once you take ownership of all the assets, if you don't redistribute the assets back, and use them, then what can happen except you just devour yourself? And now you realize all you're doing is using paper to pretend, play a big game of let's pretend, which is what they've been doing.
Yes, we got it. All right. So this extension was Marduk. Now it didn't require like permission from the from Kim because she was then already the trustee for the humanity. I'm just like you need two sides to do an agreement, right? So
when Kim came in 2012, she was still thought of herself as like an employee. She thought these people were her bosses, so she wasn't aware that she didn't need them to access the system. So the decisions they made without her, because she was essentially a novice. I mean, she went to Russia previously, right, to make a claim on her own assets, her family assets, and make a commission for it and bring them in and help some people. And they poisoned her. I believe Putin actually, had something to do with that, and then later apologized to her when they realized that she is the bloodline czar of Russia.
Oh,
and
so she's Romanov.
Yes, yeah, I believe so. So she's they thought they killed off that bloodline, but Kim is the genetic anomaly, proving that she's been acknowledged by church and state many times, and a lot of times I have speculated. Kim has never confirmed this, but I've speculated because we know that if the documentation held by Russia that proves exactly who Kim is, no bank in the world could reject her transfers. And when Vladimir Putin slipped that memory stick to President Trump, my belief is the documentation that proves who Kim is also on there.
Okay.
That's just my opinion, though.
Okay. Well, I think you probably have a good guess at it. So, all right. So that's that kind of I guess answers the question. There was like a twofold question, but you got it. Because I was just trying to go through the timeline and how Kim got into the position, and that she is the one that has to hold all of everything for humanity. For her to make a new agreement for another infinity agreement to go back into slavery, but it was different this time. She decided not to. Like she wanted to give everything back to humanity, which is this is the first time it's ever happened.
That's right. She stood up for humanity. She was, there's the Draconians and the Mantis at some point. This is how Kim told me the story. And Kim described the Mantis queen as she said, kind of like an ant person, is what she told me. It was a while ago that she told me like that, though. I think she was just trying to put it in context for me without melting my face. And she said how they were saying that they look at all they had done for humanity, right? They were projecting this and look at all we've done for humanity. We deserve to take everything. So Kim said, all you've done for humanity, you've divided us in every way. You've divided us against each other. You've divided us from our children, from our spouses. You've divided us and tortured us. You've diminished our ability to thrive. You've made us forget who we are. She said, you've even divided the hemispheres of our brain. She said, so,
that was interesting. And that was the first time I heard that as a theory that we actually our hemispheres divided because of that. And I just thought that was something that was naturally how we were from the beginning.
Well, I use this example all the time of the spell that they cast, the Zionist Jews in the wilderness of Sinai. They repeated the same pattern of operations every day, 24/7, where something had to die for them to live, right? They would break one of the 613 ordinances, and they took what was a law from God, natural law, which is written in your heart and in your mind, right? So the 10 commandments that they portray didn't have any writing on it. It was just the heart, right? It was a heart shape. What they did is they made it to tombstones. So they put death, and then they locked it in the Ark of the Covenant in your brain. So the Ark of the Covenant, the Arks of the Covenant were conduits for source energy. So when you lock those 10 commandments in your mind, it became the law of sin and death. And it says that the law was not made to take away sin, but the law was made to make sin more exceedingly sinful. Now, if you were to break that up, and anybody, like, what? Like, who wants to make sin worse, right? So, but that's what they did, and then they sealed it every year on the Day of Atonement with a blood sacrifice, where they would sacrifice the animal. The high priest would take the garments, the holy garments, right? And he'd put them on, and there was 12 stones that represented the 12 tribes, which really the 12 tribes represented the original tribes of humanity, right? That Tubi's talking about. And then he would go in to the most holy place, which was closed. Now, there was a veil, and the veil was covered with angels, and it was blue, purple, and scarlet. And the high priest would go in on the right side. He'd go up on the left side, and the Ark of the Covenant was on a pivot, and he would hit the staves that would stick out from the Ark of the Covenant and walk around it, splattering blood on it. So he was cementing it with a blood contract of the sacrifice. And then he would walk back down on the left side, and he would do that 3 times, and that would be 8, 8, 8. And that's where we get the principle, thinking that 8 is infinity. But in reality, that symbolism is the repetition of the same thing over and over and over again. Whereas if you took a 9, and you could take 9, and you could take the way that that spiral that we always see in the sky when universes are formed, right? And you could symbolize that as a 9, and that would be symbolic of the source energy causing creation from nothing, coming down into the earth, and then on, and it has its own path, and it has its own will to create. Then from the earth, being the 3rd dimensional representation of that source energy, you would have a 6. And if you put those right next to each other, a 9 and a 6, and stacked them, you'd see that looks a lot like an 8. But then the 6 would create the same spiral and spiral back up, returning that energy back onto heaven, or back onto God, or back on the universe, right? And so you have the principle of that 96 being a more powerful symbol of creation, because in that creation we have free will, we have unlimited potential, we have an open end to the energy that we exert. But what they did is they cast this spell on humanity that forced us to take all of that energy, and we just continually give it back to them, and then regenerate, and we create this energy that just constantly devours us. And they've had us in that time, that created a time loop that is repeated at least 6 times that I know of.
No,
This is the 7th.
Yeah, I never heard it expressed that way. I would like to add something, because actually this is part of a conversation I actually had last night about going into the temple to see the Holy of Holies. You had to cover yourself with the holy anointing oil, which the holy anointing oil, if you follow the recipe, uses marijuana. It actually a recipe that I have made myself for medical reasons, right? But in the case of where you have to cover your body with this oil from head to toe, you want to talk about a high priest. That priest definitely would be high. You're going to be so high. I'm surprised that they could, actually make a figure 8. So. But this is also opening up the pineal gland. So if you didn't do this, you were not protected from the energies that were coming from the Holy of Holies. So very interesting how you could transmute that energy at that point by activating your pineal gland with with these oils, which also included cinnamon and mithril and uh, what's the other one was. But yeah, it's well, olive oil. Yeah, olive oil was one of the it was the main binding oil, but you used it with the cannabis. I figured it out to be I think about 2 pounds of marijuana mixed in with
Wow.
about about a gallon's worth of olive oil,
Well, that's interesting.
and then the
I've never heard
cinnamon.
that.
Yeah,
I'm familiar. I'm familiar with the I'm familiar with the high priest, of the Levitical priesthood. They would, when they were in the court roundabout, they would cover themselves with the cup of holy anointing oil, and in the body, that cup of holy anointing oil was, well, in the tabernacle, was designed to make them operate, with the highest efficiency. And that cup of holy anointing oil actually correlates in the human body to the cup-shaped adrenal glands in the body. So my suspicion is, even though there's a recipe like that, that probably this was, something to do with adrenochrome. Um, not to take away from what you just said, because I agree I'm sure that's in there because there is all types of ingredients. But if you look at the court roundabout, you have the four-sided altar of sin sacrifice, right, where something had to die for you to live. So that correlates to your the four-sided intestines, right? Your ascending, descending, sigmoid, and transverse colon. And on each one of those points, there's the corners is a point of blood. So in your intestines, you have blood that rushes to aid in the digestion in each one of those places. Then you have the cup of holy anointing oil, and then it actually had the sacrifice. The altar had an actual spigot, right, which correlates to your colon, where they would draw out the waste from the sacrifice. Then you go through a veil, which would be likened under your diaphragm, which is blue, purple, and scarlet, which is represented in every single medical book as blue, purple, and scarlet. Then when you go in, you have the tables of the shewbread. You have two crowns around the tables of shewbread, just like you have two coronary arteries around your heart, right? The heart is also referred to as the tables of the heart. There was 12 loaves of bread, just like the average man has 12 pints of blood that rush through the body. Then off of the heart, you have something called the aortic arch, and there are 7 main branches to the aortic arch, and then there is a 7-branch lampstand, and that be lit, all the time, flickering, just like the aortic arch flickers the blood out into your body.
Mhm.
Then you have the altar of incense, which had 4 main ingredients, and that offered up as an intercession between God and man, and that was an incense, and that is just like the air we breathe, because there's 4 main ingredients in the air we breathe. And then, obviously, once you get up to the most holy place, you have Michael, the warrior angel, and Gabriel, the messenger angel. The messenger would be likened unto sensory function in your brain, and Michael, the warrior, would be likened unto motor function in your brain. So you have 2 primary functions in your brain, and in that you have the 10 Commandments. And on the 10 Commandments, the way they were actually written is 7 on one side and 3 on the other, and that was considered to be the master law to the people. So we have a pituitary gland, which acts as the master gland of the human body, right? And there's 2 lobes, and there's 7 on one side, 7 hormones from one side, and 3 on the other. And you have those principles represented, and you also have the manna there in the brain and those things. So
Okay, well, this is a recipe. It's from Exodus 30, 22 to 23. It says, including over 9 pounds of flowering cannabis tops. Right, a cannabosum is the pronunciation. Also means fragrant cane, like cane sugar. So the marijuana plant kind of looks like that if you have a long, thin type of marijuana. Pulverized singular cannabis. And, oh, that's just sorry. That's actually extracted into about 6.5 liters of olive oil, along with a variety of other herbs and spices. The other herbs and spices are, I have that here. Yeah, the word is myrrh. I call it mirth, and then sweet cinnamon, cannabosum, and cassia or cassia, and then olive oil. Those are the ingredients for it. So I was working with a group out that was actually trying to create the holy anointing oil, and they were using a different plant for cannabosum than cannabis. And this was a group out of Utah, and they were trying to find the most purest versions of the original, like cinnamon and cassia, and when I showed them some documentation and I said, "Here, go look here. This is where the translation was mispronounced." So the plant that they were referring to had no smell, but it's supposed to be fragrant cane. Well, there's no fragrance in this other plant. And it's like a Nile reed growing in the Nile River was this reed, and that's what they thought was the right one. And now they switched and they started making it out of cannabis. So
Interesting.
yeah. Anyway, I had looked in as well, but I always thought that was kind of interesting. You really needed to activate your pineal gland and have these other it was not just the cannabis, but that's definitely a major part of it. But these other ingredients all needed to work together. When I first started creating remedies using it for helping people with like MS, Asperger's syndrome, cancer, I found that the actual mixing of it with different base oils, not the other ingredients, but the other base oils, like peanut oil, olive oil, macadamia nut oil. I was trying many kinds almond oil. I tried many different types of oil, coconut oil, and the ones there were certain oils that did really well for MS, and that was the actual macadamia nut oil, and I found out later it was about the increased blood flow to the brain that helped the MS patients. The so the macadamia nut oil for some reason helped that out. I do not, but it was just experimental. Peanut oil, I would say, is forbidden. Don't do it. It creates hyper paranoia if you use peanut oil. And I did it 3 times just to confirm, but every time,
Just experiment on myself.
Yeah, well, not just myself. Other people wanted to partake in the experiment, and it did hold up that hyper paranoia was created with it. I mean, the result of always it's the same feelings. You want to hide the oil. It's so I don't know why you want to hide it, and or throw it away. So it's interesting. But you were really, everything was super paranoid with it. So anyway, this just a little side note there about that. But
well, if you look it up online, it says that one of the first things that came up when I looked it up, when it came up with cannabis, was hairless breeder. So I'm just saying, it might be cannabis, but cannabis also means hairless breeder, which sounds to me like a dream girl. Just a thought.
Awesome, right? And if if I find the actual, there was a really good documentary that went over how the translations were switched and where and who did it, and guess who did it? It was the Catholic Church that switched out the translation. They used to use this a lot, for making incense.
Yes.
Also, the holy anointing oil in the Dead Sea Scrolls. They also found the holy anointing oil in vases. They tested it, and it had cannabis. you want to find that, that is, you can dig and find that. I also have I want to point out also that we have a question coming from R. Gerber. Right? And R. Gerber is another one that I'd like to appreciate their donation of $2. I appreciate that. This is a interesting phenomena to have the donations coming in. Thank you very much. But she basically says, "Do you know how Marduk was kicked out?" I did reply, and I said Marduk was killed by Kim. Would you like to elaborate
Um,
on the event, on
that
how that
that
happened?
that Marduk was kicked out by who?
Well, I know. R. Gerber was the name. She's asking. Well, I don't know if the she, the icon I was looking at, I thought was female, but it's actually a lion face sort of ish. But it's a do you know how Marduk was kicked out? Do you know how Marduk was kicked out? I replied and I said Kim killed Marduk.
Uh, they did not want Kim to come to Russia. They would not give her any money, so they were making it impossible for her to get any money. And they kept saying to her that it was you know, they were teaching her a lesson, right? And then she'd call them out and she'd be like, no, it's okay. They kept going back and forth the same way they do with us with the RV. And what she did is she was able to pull together some money to fly out there to make arrangements to get paid herself because she needed to survive. And when she went there, it was in Russia. They were having some, evil empire meeting of, sitting around laughing about what they were going to do. And this was the top characters in the Draconian Order, the 154 at the top, that most of which were not human. Most of them held the shape and form of a human, I guess, but they in fact were not human. And Kim really had not seen that, but she had abilities since she was a child to. She understood how to pull the source energy into her body and push it out. She could use it as a method to heal herself and as a weapon of defense if needed. And she's still able to do that. She's able to, you know, create things and move things with that same energy. She does not talk about it much because she doesn't want people to think that she's crazy, and so it's not something that she broadcasts much. But what happened was when she went there, the Draconians, the Royals, they are white dragons, and when they get angry, they're not able to hold their shape and form. So Marduk got very angry, and suddenly he, his body dropped, and Kim thought he was possessed by a demon. Like she didn't know what had happened, and so she reacted and she cut off his head, and then she took his heart, and then she was attacked. Now, so she was attacked by all of them, and I don't know who else might have been there. I don't know. I know she was on the phone with one woman who tries to claim that she was there, but she wasn't. I've heard people say they were there. They might have been. I don't know. I've never talked to them. All I've talked to is Kim, and I
Did
know
anyone
that
pull out their cell phone and start taking a video?
I don't think I don't think so. But from
That
what
would have been good.
the way Kim has described it to me on the telephone, which means she's done this for the benefit of the various intelligence agencies and groups listening. She said it was a massacre, and my understanding is there's a very specific way that they have to be killed, not to resurrect, because these characters have always resurrected. So their heads were taken and their hearts were taken, so they could not come back, at least not in a body here. And what else from that? So I did ask her about that. About did she just
Well,
explode with?
so let me dive a little bit of a curve ball question here. Um, since it was about them not resurrecting back here at all by taking their heads and hearts and whatever else needed to be done, was is this anything to do with them being demons, or
No,
is
I mean
yeah
they
not
they were they they were different galactics, and they were also they were different. Most of them, anyways. I'm sure there was humans in there somewhere. But there was a lot of the religious beliefs, of like things where they worship people as gods. They were these beings. You know, they like that. That's who they were. Like, the blue gods with, and blue Hindu gods and all these different, when they talk about the Elohim is a pluralistic title for gods, plural, right? So when they were talking about the gods, a lot of times these were the gods, right? That's why they worshipped pharaohs as gods. And you'd have one pharaoh leave and another pharaoh would come in. It was just a different version of them. And they would just take rule of different kingdoms and different things. And everyone would bow down to them. And that happened for, and then they would come in and take credit for things, right? That's why if you read up on Egypt, right, they whitewashed Egypt. That's why all the hands of the statues in Egypt are black, right? And then they washed them over with white, to make them look white.
Interesting.
So this is one of the many ways they manipulated and changed history. They would reenact the same things and do it again, and then the elders, my understanding, and anybody can go listen to Thomas talk about this stuff. I'm of the understanding that there is, an infinite number of timelines taking place at all time. This is the things that Kim tells me and has told me. These are things she experienced with her own body, her own self, where she was there. These aren't like, things she saw in meditation. These are things that happened. She rode on planes with these people,
Oops. Hello. Space command to Galactic Unicorn. Come in, Galactic Unicorn. Oh, Tank is muted. I don't know if he's muted by himself or he was, if he's just off. Anyway, well, let me take this moment to actually again thank those that actually gave a contribution. I was not expecting that, but it is well appreciated. It will definitely, it helps. Every little bit helps, so I do appreciate that. So R. Gerber, Ronald Rafferty, and Jeg. Thank you for your contributions because they are much appreciated. I will also say that we have there's a lot of conversation that's going on here. I can go through this and wait for Tank to come back. This tends to happen. Sometimes Tank gets a phone call, and that distracts from the call, and some other times he's like just loses internet altogether. And so we'll just wait and see if he's going to come back on. Tui does have the link from Fiji, so Tui, if you want to jump on, you're welcome to join us. As for if other people have questions, Jeg, I see you have some other posts in here. Let me see what you're saying. I understand my $10 trillion Zim note of his little value, but I'm not clear as to what the future will be with Kim and the trust. A simple explanation will be greatly appreciated. Thanks. I'm happy to explain that. No need for pretty paper. The pretty paper of the 100 trillion or the historical notes, not needed. All you need to do is have a project. Your project can include just you, right? You need help right away, whatever it is. You're part of the project. If whatever you're going to do, whatever you wanted to do, just list that out as your project. Include you as the first step of your project so that you can take care of your initial needs or whatever that needs be, because you have to be clear-minded to do your project. And as long as it's going to help humankind, it will get approved. So you can use the gocamelot.com website. The link is down below in the description of this video. And you can get the forms to fill out. There are, if you want to get started early, you can use the services of an attorney they've set up to process this. It's like $100 to get a trust set up. Now that is remarkably low. You have to kind of use the system that they have in place there because that's how the money will flow. There's obviously a master trust, not the Manna World Holding Trust, but under Create Change, there is this maybe it's the Go Camelot Trust. I'm not exactly certain about that, but then these trusts will be sub-trust of this one, and it's structured that way so that it would be no taxes involved, and it's for these humanitarian projects. So that I hope that helps you understand. Any other questions? Just go ahead. It's good to put a Q when you type out in the super chat, Q and then space and then what your question is. That way, when I scan, I can pick out. Oh, there's a Q. If you want to talk about QAnon, you could do that too. But just put a Q in the beginning. But I saw that you were one of the contributors. Oh, Tank, are you back?
Yes.
Okay.
I jumped back on. I have to go. I have something urgent that came up. And I apologize for that. But
That's okay.
if you got a question right now for me that you need me to answer it, I'll stick around for just a second, and then I
All
got to
right.
jump off.
Yeah, I think I handled it. Someone had just asked about. He understands his $10 trillion Zim note has no value, but he's not clear how the future will work with Kim and the trust. I explained the situation with Go Camelot and to get a trust, and this would be a sub trust of that, in which the money would flow through to accomplish your project. I think that's pretty much. If you'd like to add anything to that, but otherwise, I think we're good. And maybe Tank disappeared again. Okay, Tank, go do what you need to do. Anyway, we'll be back again tomorrow. Anyway, we're just into the second hour. What I'll do here is I will go ahead and put in. There is a link that's below in the description. If you scroll down, you'll see for joining Where We Go One We Go All .love Telegram group. Join that. I will post the link to get onto the Hangouts, and then we can have a conversation if you'd like to join. If I post it here, which I'll do that anyway, but it doesn't seem to come. It doesn't seem to come out well. Let me stop my sharing for a second here. Yeah, Tank is seems to be gone. I can't hear him, but anyway, I'll just eject him from the call so he's freed up for doing whatever he needs to go do. I'm sure it's for a good reason. What else? Let me get the link. So I will go ahead and I'll post it here. I don't know if you can click on it and have it work, but I will now post it in two pieces in the chat. But I've got to separate it out, and you'll have to reassemble it. And those are the two pieces. Robert Allen Kemp in the middle. So anyway, that's if you'd like to. I mean, you'd have to cut and paste that if the top one doesn't work. And I'm going to go ahead and post that in the Telegram group Where We Go On, We Go All .love. Of course, I didn't. It's the half. I didn't recopy it. I got to delete that and put it back. 1 second. Copy it again. Go back to Telegram. Paste it again. All right. So if you want to come on now, that's where you can get the link and join in the conversation. Otherwise, I will go through and go over the chat and see if there's any more questions to answer there. Right out of the chat. There we go. Okay. Let's see. I don't know, like how. Penny is asking how I'd like to know how Tank met Kim. It's my understanding that Tank was in the RV world, been there as one of the main intel providers for a number of years. Kim approached Tank because she investigated him and found him to be of good integrity and honorable, and contacted him and started to clue him in as to what was really going on, as to what the intention of the RV was all about. And over, I don't know how much time, but he ended up believing her, and really just left the RV world, and told them he was wrong and that everyone is on the wrong path. And that's kind of how it worked. And that, I guess, that happened maybe about a year and a half ago, something along those lines. Hope that answers your question. Thank you. And let's see. Okay. Mark Howard says, just sit back and eat your GMO popcorn and waste your life on Q riddles. Well, I understand that the Q, it's hard to say, whether you want to come down on the side of it being for the good or for the bad. Is another psyop? Is it, or is it part of, the grand plan to actually remove the cabal? So I'm on the side that it is on the to remove the cabal. It's orchestrated where Trump is, literally leading this charge with the U.S. military. That's where I come down on it. I could be wrong, but I'm going with what my belief is right now, and I've got a lot of reasons why I think that. But let's see how things unfold and how things are happening. But I understand that. Now, I do, that's where the WWG1WGA.LOVE website, link down below, is also about, really putting QAnon as one of the elements of the Great Awakening. How to create a new channel of information that is outside the mainstream media that people can rely on. And the relying on it is solving some riddles, Q posts with Trump tweets, and using them as verification that this is a verified information channel. That's why I come down on it, that you're either on the side of Trump, and if you're on the side of Trump, it's obvious that Trump is directing QAnon. So if you're thinking that that Trump is part of the elite and the cabal, I understand why you would be against QAnon. If you are on the side of Trump, I highly suggest you really look into where this is. I mean, Trump has obviously made some references to Q. He's often doing air cues. He'll make this symbol in the air. When he's on stage at rallies. So it's very obvious this, it's not a normal motion. So, and there's others, a lot of things that are confirming this. So, and some videos I'll be putting up to try and make that safe. So you're welcome to join me there. All right. Oh, where do we go? Thanks. Let's see. All the best from Mongolia. Oh, excellent. That's a stretch out there to Mongolia. Is it outer Mongolia or inner Mongolia? Okay, let's keep going. We are sovereign and we do not consent. Be at peace. General, well, I think he means Dumford, and Tranny, Love, and Trump will fix everything. Well, okay. Well, I guess I know what side you're on. You're not on this side. So anyway, just be forewarned. I've had a lot of time dealing with people that are of an opposite of where I'm at in relating whatever information I'm currently relating, and that's okay. If you become vile, a little bit of, off color words, I don't mind here and there. It's okay. But if you become vile, you're so negative about, I will go ahead and remove you. I will use my troll elimination device and you will be removed. Just fair warning. Not removing anyone right now, but just realize. Okay, both of you believe that this is real, a galactic confederation. If so, they are helping us. Galactic Federation of whatever you want to call it. That there is a group out there that is like working within the stars between different civilizations. Yes. Are they helping us? Well, do we want them to help is one of the questions, because the helping us got us into the problem. Asking for help from outside of us to overcome our current problems is what the agreement was that put us into this, martial law, debt slavery system. So do we want help from the Galactics? No. They have, helped in a way. It's an offhands type of way from behind the scenes or outside of this of our sphere. That's fine. But when we're dealing with our day-to-day issues, we're the ones that have to stand up. We're the ones that have to basically take our time and efforts to make a world that we want. We don't need help. We need for us all to stand up and come together. That is also a reason why I made the site, was a way to coordinate information. Where we go one, we go all. .love, wwg1wga.love, is there for the purpose of trying to coordinate the information. Again, I just launched it. There's still I'm still filling out, in the forums and putting out like categories and starting conversations. But please join in, and then happy to have you add your content to help us coordinate the information. How do we get all this information, orchestrated? I'm still figuring out. That's why I'm asking Tank. I heard the story about what happened with Marduk and that event, but he told this way. I never heard it from that angle before. It provided more information to kind of like fill out the story a bit better. I didn't know that this took place in Russia. I didn't know that she was going there to claim her heritage and along those lines, and why she then got into this position. I didn't know these things, so it's good to ask questions. But if we had one place to coordinate from, that helps. I know ProjectSpeak.net has information there. Please go look there. There's essential documents to look over. Some are very long, but well worth reading. I haven't gotten to all of them yet, but I have taken big chunks of it. All right. So let's see. Let me go back to where we're at here. So Arid says, Mark Howard, please watch your language. Yeah. Yes, Mark, please watch your language. Let's be a little respectful for people in general. It's our space here. Let's just be respectful. Okay. Has Tank checked in with any updates? There was no updates that he could talk about today. This is going to be a very probably quiet week until it's done. That's my guess. But this is going to be a pretty interesting week, I would say, for certain. Yes, so yes, Ra is basically talking about copy and pasting the link. Sometimes I forget to mention this. Please share this video. I know there's a share button there. You can use that. But keep in mind, when you use their share button, you are in a controlled environment, they have no control over you copying and pasting the link somewhere. But when you share it, they may not send it where you think it's going. They may appear there for you, but not for others. So, but it's okay, share it, but remember to copy and paste it in other social media locations. And there is other social media stuff it's starting to pop up around. You remember MySpace? It disappeared. Remember Facebook? It disappeared. Oh, well, I mean, I'm a little ahead of time, right? Facebook will disappear. It's a negative influence on the planet that people are aware of. Do you know that the assistant to the Prime Minister of England is one of the people that's come to take over Facebook? The other member, other person that's come from England was on the Queen's Privy Council. Why are they taking such an interest in Facebook? Why is it that they need to, take that drastic action? It's because Facebook's in trouble. Excuse me. All right. Okay, thanks and good answer. I'm here for humanity to get off their knees and stand up. Thank you, Sue. Yes, no more bowing. We are sovereign. We are remarkable. We, no matter how we came here, what all of our history is, we are remarkable, and we just have to recognize that in ourselves. Don't be submissive about who you are. Be boisterous about who you are. It's okay. I'm not talking about being overly prideful. Where your super ego takes over, but recognize the goodness in you and what you do well, and let that help others. So anyway, let's stand up and let's get going. Who is Mark referring to as Rooster? Well, maybe he's talking about Tui's Rooster. Tui's Rooster usually joins us. Dan, a question. Okay, please put a Q in the first part and ask your question, but that's okay. I got it. I might miss it otherwise. That's why I'm looking for the Qs. All right. So the question: should not be charging folks for Q information when the public does manage to become free? Well, okay. Oh, I know that zoomed around. Sorry, that moved while I was reading it. Okay, you should not be charging folks for Q information when all is public. Why, bro? Well, the reason is this: it costs me money to set it up. It costs me time to go ahead and put my time into doing it. And if I put 100% of my time into that, and I make no money elsewhere, how do I keep it rolling? So $1.11, if you'd like, it's there for free. If you want to get the blogs and keep in touch with the blogs, I'm going to keep pushing out blogs. But if you want to interact in the other section, it's $1.11 a month. If you want to contribute and work with me on that, that's all. You don't have to do it. I'm not forcing anyone. But if someone I'm taking my time to reorganize the Q information, right? To put it into categories to help people deliver red pills. It's hard to track Q. It's meant to be hard. It's meant to be a big puzzle. So, but some people are not going to be able to decipher it that way. So if I can manage to put it into a more bite-sized chunks, we can eat that elephant. So please participate if you'd like to. And if please understand that I have a need for actually having funds also, and I do appreciate those contributions. They are so appreciated for the people that decided to give some contributions here. This is the first time it's ever happened, and I do appreciate it. It actually goes. It's really touching to me to know that you show that you care for what I'm putting out here. So this is not easy. Believe me, I'm not making money at doing this. When I started this with Tank, I put my other stuff on hold for 2 weeks, but I couldn't stop. It became too important to see what's going on in Fiji and see how things were coming together. I didn't want to stop this. I want to stand up and help. So I understand that some people have an idea that everything should be free, but that's where things happen, and you end up in socialism and communism, and that's really evil in my book. So the ultimate goal that can never be attained is putting out something like the RV, never be attained, never get that money. That's evil. Anyway. Okay, well, let's see, where else are we? Okay. Question. Will we get any funds personally? Through a project, your own project, you can cover your personal issues because you are part of a project, your own project. How can you focus on building out your project if you haven't taken care of your personal issues? So yes, but don't look to say that you're going to create your empire, and just to put this down and set everything up so you can sit back and relax, and there's no benefit to humanity. So humankind has to benefit from what you're doing. You have to also, you're part of humankind. It's okay to take care of yourself as the first line item in your project. Take care of myself. All right. Okay. Any other questions? Q, who reviews and decides on the project? That's part of the Go Camelot. They have a creators network that they tie into, and they have a process for evaluating the projects. Now, just also, there's the People's Club. Think Different People's Club. The domain. I should get Thomas's domain and add it to the description below. But he also has a forming as another. So there's really 2 channels of which the project money will flow through. So that's again Thomas Williams, the People's Club, and he has his own process on how that will happen. So Jay Phillips is saying, check out our international law NGO under URD Institute, Universal Rights Development. Okay, well, I'll keep track of that. I'll go take a look at it. I don't want to do it at the moment, but I'm willing to go and see what that's all about. Let me state something else. The system, the existing system, was designed to extract assets from everyone and bring it to one trust, which it was successfully completed that by 2008. All assets of the planet, corporations, governments, people, chattel, souls, were sent to this trust. Yes, souls, part of the architecture of the system. It's to be given back, but to people and sovereign governments. Governments that we know as governments that are under the United Nations are not sovereign. They are corporations set up as a system of extracting assets from people and the planet and putting under the ownership of one trust. That was its design, and that was its goal, and it was achieved. Next part of that was for them to do depopulation and then remove everyone from the system and finish their harvesting program. But the agreements run out, and they have to do everything by agreement, or the Galactics can check in. Interesting, this thing was all laid out in Stargate SG-1, all these stories. So interesting, if you want to see what's going on, then just watch that whole series. Some 200 episodes, I think. Oh, well, Jag gave another $2. Thank you. It's a very, very touched. Thank you for your contributions. This is a first, and I do appreciate it. We now have to build a new architecture. We're not talking about wiping out the existing one. It's set to self-destruct. Let it self-destruct, but we have to build outside. So the assets have to be turned over to the people and to the true sovereign countries. Fiji is working its way towards being the first publicly known country to accept the funds, but they have to be sovereign. They have to get into that position to take those funds. And so they're at the they're in transition, but it's not easy. There's strikes going on in Fiji. That's why I was waiting for Tui to come on to give an update. Now this is the strikes are going on, so it may be difficult at times for him to jump in. So we'll hope we hear from him. But so to return everything, it can't go out into the standard government agencies. So when you start talking about NGOs, I'm just putting it in as a context to say it's non-government, but that's usually sanctioned by a government or a United Nations. So if it's under one of these corporations, even though it seems like it's a separate company, it's an incorporated entity, is it, a trust, which is private and outside? Is it a society, say as Pantera de Oro or Kringle Society, which are private organizations outside of the control of that structure, like the Holy See, like the Freemasons. These are Skull and Bones. They all are private societies created with their own systems of law and governments and court systems that are outside of the United Nations subcorporation of subcorporation of a subcorporation down to your local government subcorporation. So anyway, but I will check that out. All right, so okay, let's see what else. So Kim has offered the asset money to all countries. Yes, true countries, sovereign countries. Go to gocamelot.com. Information is down below in the description, just in case you lose it in the super chat. I hear someone who's jumped on. Hello. Joseph.
Yes, you hear me?
Hi, Joseph. Oh, I heard you for a second. Now you're muted. So unmute yourself again.
Okay.
That's good.
It's okay.
I hear you now.
All right. I hear you too.
Okay. So what's going on, Joseph? Thanks for joining.
Yeah, it's a good timing, man. But it couldn't be better.
Yeah. So if you want, you can turn off your camera and then just hold your phone so that you can just talk to me normally. So you're not going back and forth. Or
What?
go to,
Do you see me now?
yeah, no, cannot see you, but I can hear you, and you can just hold it like a phone, right, and just talk.
Wait,
It's
wait a
okay.
minute. I need a speaker to be able to understand. Wait a minute.
Okay. You can also go to speakerphone and put video on and do it that way.
I'm too slow, man. I've been in a ceremony all night.
Oh, the ceremony for what?
Oh, I've gone to a position where I could perhaps clear the chemtrails.
Okay. Well, I'm all for that.
Yeah, so I'm working. I'm working in plasma technology. Plasma technology.
Okay. So,
Yeah. So
in what way is the plasma generated?
it is basically uh, very complex structures of copper wire and GANs, which is a active nano liquid.
Okay. Is it forming?
So
Is it kind of like in a rodent coil type of winding?
the winding is like a normal electric engine. You see the wire like this, but they don't wire around me. You don't wrap them around anything. Just empty tubes of wire. The wire is just making a spiral, and
Ah,
you have a combination of them. Okay, it's a kind of structure that you build several structures. I built the essential infinity. I worked on the essential infinity to create a structure for the plasma field that I'm creating. I'm creating artificially plasma fields with this.
okay. So
Yeah, so it's a group of developers. I can introduce to you better than mine. I'm more a painter, but I do this. If I need to turn the leaf, sometimes you come to a point, and so I do this, and it lifts me up like several miles up spiritually. So then I'm doing a ceremony when it happens, when I do the massive work, like last few days, I'm working hard on a new model. Kind of all my studio became so loaded with plasma liquids and copper instruments, and I'm having also people that work with me.
no.
Uh,
Do you have the device close to you? Can you show us on the camera?
sure. Do you see me?
No, no, not now. You turned off your camera. Go ahead, turn your camera back on, and then you can aim your phone over at it.
Yeah, I can show you. I can show you it. Yeah.
No,
What?
I studied plasma and as a way of transmuting matter, and also used for.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I need to listen to this very carefully if I want to understand. I go inside. I'm on the terrace on the roof, and the
Okay.
highway start. The highway started to rock.
Okay, no problem. We can hold on.
Yeah, I'm inside. So yeah, I could show you. Um, I have many plasma devices here. Basically, it's
Put your camera back on.
wait a minute. I want to do it now. Wait a minute. It's okay. Yeah, it's okay.
Speakerphone, and you can have your camera on.
Yeah, just a minute. Just a minute. I need my glasses again. I lost them somewhere.
I'm seeing that R. Gerber is asking about the web page for Go Camp.
Yeah. Now I can push the button to start the camera if I find it.
Yeah.
So I push this. Do you see me now?
There you are. I see you.
Yeah. So wow, I see. Wow, it's amazing.
There you go. Well, all you got to do is point it at your plasma device.
Yeah. So this is my first plasma device. You see it?
Yes. Well, sort of.
Sort of. So you see, there's
I'm going to switch.
structures.
I'm gonna put your camera on the screen, so only your camera is on the screen now. Okay, I see it.
Okay, so if that's so, so I'll go around and make a tour, and I show some stuff that is. This is a plasma device. They all have names like boats. So this one is called Calibra.
What's in the base?
In the base of it, there is a what you call a grown-up Maghreb device.
Okay.
It's a Maghreb. If somebody look for Maghreb, it's spelled like Maghreb in Morocco. Magrav.
Maghreb.
Magnetical gravitation. Okay, so I try to walk around. So you see some paintings, I guess. Well, this is the cello.
Sunrise.
Sunrise. Just rose a while ago. This is where I am. This is Noah. You say hello to Noah.
Hi, Dan.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
She's an
I've been
old admirer of you.
following you long time.
Oh, really?
Since we see
Oh, I'm honored.
we
Thank
see
you.
you
Yes.
in Davidson.
Yeah. All right. So this is you see here is an infinity. I built this infinity. See. So
I get it. Yeah. Yeah.
right. So it's infinity. And here is I do guns. That's how I make guns. Everybody can make guns. This is the two infinities here, but you can put any copper. One is burnt. The one is burnt, and the other one is not burnt. And you put a wire in. This is water.
Salt water.
On the top of it, there is amino acid gathering, so you can live on that. If you don't have anything, this can feed you. It's what the plankton in the sea is feeding on.
Ah, okay.
This is GANs. It's created between two things that have different charges, electric charges. So the charge moves through the water, salty water. It's a sea salty water. Here I put an apple in it. Here there are symbols of, this is symbols of gold. The shape, the symbol of gold. This is infinity. Originated with Mike Nassif. When Mike Nassif built it, we are a group of developers. It's very big group. Many people, thousands of people developing in plasma. So this is it. For more, I have another device here. Yeah, there's paintings everywhere. If you want to,
Sure.
yeah, this is.
You know, I do some paintings myself. I melt wax from crayons
Yeah,
and use it heat guns to melt them.
you get what from Pompeo? You get from Pompeo what?
I use like Crayola crayons, and I will melt them with a heat gun to make paintings.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
They're fat. It's fat material. That's fun.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I do also, I work with, maybe this is good to see. You see this guys here? See this guy? It's called, hoe is het nou? Nou, niet meer.
Shungi.
This is Shungi stones.
Okay.
And Shungi, what?
I don't know about it. What is it?
Shungi stone is It's curved. It's dug out somewhere in Russia. There is a special mountain that is dug from, and its power is that it consumes everything to infinity. I mean, if you hold it in your hand, it will empty your energies. If you conscious of it, you'll be able maybe
Put it down quickly.
Huh?
Put it down quickly. You shouldn't be
Yeah,
holding.
I put it under my feet. Sometimes I sit while I'm meditating.
Yeah.
I'm using them. I could do very rapid release of electric charge of energies for my body
Okay.
with this. So it's a combination of work with these elements and paint and do other things and do internet communication, helping you and helping Kim and helping Tank and helping the things to become, make people aware. I'm having, I don't know how many people in how many groups for the RV and for everything. I'm in this together with you.
No, yeah, I appreciate. I like when you people join in. It's good to hear from different people about where they're at, and I'm glad you're helping out. I know, the RV side is very, in turmoil. I have a lot of friends that are having some serious angst.
I tell you my approach to it, because I'm in part also a mathematician and physician, in a sense at least, spiritually speaking, or know enough about quantum mathematics and so on, that I understand Kim, and I would, if I had the technical capacity, I would have built a system like she does. It's understandable. I understand her on the technical level. Understand how much it's true to build it like this, and I understand also the mathematics, the physics that goes in it. So there's no better solution than the best ones. This is the best solution. So it's not a question of argument who is right for me or who is wrong about it. It's technically it's like this. It's a fact. The Kim is right. So I'm for her because she is so intelligent and because everything. Yeah, I can say something maybe to some people. Some people don't like it that she's a woman. The people don't like it that she's so beautiful. People just can't accept that women can be more smart than men. Though it happens to them all the time, they don't accept it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's it's relative, right? So people look at things from their own point of view, and they say, they will put themselves into a position of trying to compare themselves, and it's hard for them to fathom certain things. Anyone, whether you're male or female, can be super smart on one topic and stupid on another.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if I went back, 5 years ago, let's say 6 years ago, and I was pretty well versed on the scarecrow entity of the Social Security system and the birth certificate entity. I knew all about that. I had only scratched the surface of what was actually behind the financial system.
Yeah.
I before I was stupid, and now I'm just up to imbecile.
Yeah. It's complicated, but I'll tell you what I did. I learned. I took a book of finance management. Just read the book of finance management. That's what I had. I understood the law of contracts, how you exchange things, in real market. What is the meaning of samples? how you treat samples, everything very considerate. You take stuff, you consider it. It's nothing is answered, instantaneously. People have to consider things, they cannot answer instantaneously because then they're stupid. But if they develop an appreciation, so then they have their own view on it. So then they know where they're standing and they don't, they don't get trapped in a debate. Because once your appreciation is developed, you know where you're standing. So yeah, I appreciated the market, and also as a painter, I was because I was, if I may say humbly, I was a good painter. I'm a good painter. So I was, denied everywhere that I went with it. I was never accepted to any art association. They see me, they think of the future earning that they make of me when I'm dead. And so I was in Paris and I was sending pictures, selling in the market, in auctions, and I was making real good. Surprisingly, my work started low and then they jumped, and then I had really to back out of there because it was too much pressure. I'm not a businessman, so anyway, but I had a price, so I'm priced. So once I'm priced, so they are chasing me. They want me back in, they want to earn of me. So I developed a completely unique way of dealing with art. Uh,
How?
that I can explain another time, but
Oh, I was interested because I actually helped a friend of mine who's an artist. He's the one that was teaching me the crayon art, the acoustic art
yeah.
form using the Crayola crayons. Actually,
Uh-huh.
I've got one of his paintings I can pull up and show you. So I'm sharing the screen right now. Can you see that?
Yeah. Yeah, I liked it. I saw it before. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's really amazing how these things just we went out on a hike at one point and we saw these particular flowers.
Not a visible.
We came back and we actually working on some art piece of and this flower that we saw on the path burst out of the crayons as it was melting. It just
Yeah. Yeah. I tell you what I do. I had a few friends and still do some in the world that I go paint together with in the nature. So yeah, it's the energy that that you experience when you paint outside with the colors and everything. Yeah, it's overwhelming. But you make the best works. When in this, I paint landscapes in California on the beach with a friend. We were really flying. And before I painted with another friend who actually took me out and released me of the fear of going outside to paint. And I really became addict to it, on painting outside with the colors, so I can follow the trend where you were with a friend on the mountain and so on. I can be there with you.
yeah. Yeah, well, it is amazing. We this the way things manifest as you're doing the art, right? Especially when you're more in this medium, that it was very fast, right? The way things
Yeah,
would happen.
it's instantaneously. You play the 0 point at your best. You're just there, and you just move your hands and just take colors, and it
Yeah,
happens. And there's always pressure of time. If I like to do sunsets, so sunsets are very fast. You have to be determined what you want to present and what not. So you get into the issue of planning how to go into darkness. So yeah, so it's a lot of urgency in it.
yes, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, the more people can get in touch with that creative part of themselves, the better it is for everyone. Right? So even getting into music, is that
yeah,
creativeness. It helps everyone. when we're all locked into, just being part of the Borg collective, part of, a cog in the machine, we have no way to express, that.
Right. Yeah. 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 It's true. It's true. It's all. I think it's my work actually, because I never was part of the machine in any way. So, no, never. So it's for people some opportunity for them to meet somebody who's educated, is old school, and at the same time crazy enough to cross all barriers, because I live in some way like alien, but also in some way like an animal. I'm free. So yeah. So yeah. I say a lot. I can say a lot of words of admiration for you, but I'm not going to start it here.
Well, thank you for saying you have admiration words for me. That's anytime.
Yeah. The thing is that I'm a seer, so I see whoever they are. It don't matter if today I'm better than before, but I could see angels before. I knew where angels are, or
Well,
later now
I have three that have been that I've captured in Korean photography.
Yeah, but angel is an inner quality.
Yeah.
So
Well, the reason I called them angels because when I've had my Korean photography done, where they have the machine and they shoot it through a Polaroid, it's instant.
Yeah.
Right, and you usually see the colors of this. I have 3 semicircles at the top, right, which is they've never seen it before. And
What's a circle? What kind of circle?
Semicircle. It's like because the aura is around, right?
Oh yeah.
3 semicircles.
Right.
But
But yeah. So I'm identifying soul types. Soul types also in animals. But it helped. Yeah, it helped me a lot. So it kind of took me on a tour on my own, surveying all kind of soul types. It need to do it. You need to really walk around the people and meet people. It's not a review from the distance. You just need to, and then you meet. The world is full of unbelievably distinct people. So you meet people. I traveled in the States like for 10 years, 8 years with a car. Crossed. I met many natives. Yeah.
Well,
So
I've been meeting a lot of people around the world, so it does take.
yeah.
And one
But you went.
thing I found though, everywhere I went, is everyone was kind.
Yeah. You were in the East. You went to the East.
Yeah, I've been around to other parts of the world for my whole life, but in the last you know I've been everywhere in the world. I just happen to be living in the East now for the last 5 years.
Yeah. The East. Yeah, the East. I'm Eastern.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Asiatic people. I'm Asiatic. So I look at also everything from a different viewpoint altogether. So I could contribute from the perspective of this part of the world. Because I'm intercultural, I call it. I'm from different cultures, but I'm more standing on the side, say, of the Palestinians in Gaza than on anybody else. So the Palestinians in Nablus, better. I know these people. Socially, there is a big unity in Israel between Israelis and the Palestinians that, it's amazing, but it doesn't show in politics. Yeah. So because we are of the same earth, we are the same place. We have the same temperament, the same kind of mind,
Yeah.
Very independent people. Everybody has their own hidden self somewhere, very near, you can really know somebody. In the East, it's pretty easy. That's my impression.
Well, that's one thing I like to do when I travel is I go to like the local marketplaces, where they sell
Yeah,
fruits and vegetables, and see what's locals are what how. But a lot of it is the same, same things, but a lot of it also is quite different. So
yeah.
um,
Mhm.
my phone fell.
Yeah.
Okay, no, the screen is not cracked, so that's a good thing.
I so I don't want to ask you things that I don't think our audience want to hear. So let's talk a little bit about the RV again. If you want to touch it, if you have a minute, we can talk about maybe some ideas come up.
Okay, well, go ahead, go for it. What do you want to talk about in the RV?
What do I want to talk about? Well, let's say the issue of planning. People say, "What shall I do when it happens? How shall I handle whatever they think?" Yeah. So I think if for a businessman, and I'm taking myself as a businessman because I'm looking forward, I'm looking far, I'm looking conceptually far. I'm looking at the whole field that I'm dealing with. How can I turn it like that or like that? And I'm having visions showing me or ideas, visual ideas. I'm very good in visually running videos in my mind and all kind of videos, including surrealistic kind of ayahuasca kind of trips. But I can visualize further. So, and this is one thing. Visualize further is something that people do if they think they're going to last, if they're going to survive, if they're going to do. What will they do? So, looking forward, generally to where you want to find yourself, say, when in the future, in infinity. What would you like to be in infinity? What kind of a person are you in infinity, where everything is open to all direction? And at the same time, make schedule, make timelines, short timelines. Say, in the like next 3 months, if I had that money, I'd do this. The first thing I'll do is this. And you put yourself into how you call it, uh, order or something. You make a schedule, and I always work with schedules. So I advise everybody to work with schedules as much as they can. So they could do something, so they better schedule it. Say, how long would it take for me to say set up a humanitarian project for where I want to go? Where do I like the people that I want to stay with to make for them what? Do I like, I for myself, I like shamans, and I like shamans all over the world. I like African shamans. I have a good friend. I sent his contact to you. He's a pretty crooked a little bit, but he is very much Middle Eastern. They all cheat a little bit or more than a little bit to get what they want, and putting guns in the head of people to convince them is very common. So you better be smart. In Africa also, there is a major kidnapping of children in African people, older people, people of age that they have young children. So many children are left alone. So they live together in bunches. The parents, they're afraid. A lot of fear in Africa. Yeah, and also there's fear in Mexico. That's why the movement, the children, the people moving north because they identify the American control into Mexico that they kidnap so many children. So yes, there could be a schedule. I don't know what the international schedule. I don't know what they're doing, but I know about myself. I know what I would do. So
Well,
um,
one of the things is that when you want to do your project,
yeah,
you have to take care of your initial yourself. I was suggesting you also look at the people that are close to you and helping
yeah,
with their
sure,
initial issues. If you help
yeah,
one around you that is around you, then
yeah.
they will also be freed up to help you with your project.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, my first interest is to settle some issues and people that I wanted to give the money. And there is about 5 or 10 people that I feel that I owe the money. And some people that I got stuck in the middle of the desert somewhere and they sent me money swift to rescue me. It happened to me not once or twice. So, and I have my son to maybe accommodate a little bit. He's a musician.
Yes.
So, yeah, so I'm thinking about my close circles. I think about my partner. My art project is I'm not going to speak about it, but it became a project where I have this woman, Noah, that you saw. She's my private guardian, angel guardian. And and yeah, it's true. And she's managing. She's like a patron of the art. She calls herself. She also paints here. She uses all my paints. She's 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 now overfloated. She started to paint with oil, and she paints everything, the pieces of whatever she finds. So, but this is it's a project that I have to take care of my paintings, and I cannot leave it to anybody else to take care of them. And also can go to how to design a studio to show your art and how to illuminate it. Think about this. You start to think, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, to not to allow anybody else to show your art, but make your own show. And yeah, so I'm having somebody to take care of it, and other plans that are stretching from now at least a year.
Yeah. Well, everyone has their project, so yeah, it's good to analyze it, what you want to do, and then break it down into pieces. So making your studio. If you want to teach art, right? That would be another, because you're mentoring. Is that the right word?
No, no,
Apprenticeship.
I don't. I will go to paint with you, but I will not teach you anything. I don't teach art anymore. I
No,
know I don't like to teach. I don't like the position.
just joking.
No, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Okay, so you asked me this question. Let me see. Okay. So I'm having about 2,000 artworks. Some of them, half of them is in California with a friend who is my public accountant, is my legal advisor. Okay. He's in 3D, doesn't understand nothing. But he's keeping my pictures and he's doing the mathematics of the taxes and everything. So he's perfect. And then I have part of my works here. I'm working very massive. I start to work with a new technique that I'm not going into it now, but I'm very, very excited. So I have this work here and I have to pack them, bring them somewhere. So I made an appointment with Ananda in the Canary Island in La Gomera. I speak Spanish. So I go to there, take them, I pack them, put them together and take care of, make order in my things. But I've been traveling for like 20, I don't know, many years. And I have paintings here and paintings here. So I collected them. So now I have kind of revised works that I've done when I was 30. Yeah, and copy them on nylons. Imagine that you take an oil work. Imagine, try it. It's a good idea. Take just transparent nylon, copy, and just copy the lines. You
Wow.
just drew it. You just does it again. You just recreate the painting on another something. Yeah, and then you can fill it with color, with different colors. Sometimes, yeah, you say, well, if I could on Photoshop, it's easy, but if I do it with my hand, there's another work come out of it because there's some kind of relationship that is building up with the work, and this is why eventually I arrived to a point that I cannot allow myself to sell anything or to allow anybody to have my work other than in prints. I cannot allow the originals to come out because I still work on them after 40 years.
Yeah.
So it's my inner work.
I know that feeling. Yes. But,
Yeah. So I mean, if I look at it
Joseph,
infinitely,
I'm gonna interrupt because we're approaching 3 hours. You know, and I
oh,
actually I've got an appointment that I'm going to have to leave for shortly. So and I'll
okay,
have to go over through it. But I appreciate it, and I would like if you come back on again and
yeah.
please contact me. Are you on Telegram?
Yes, I am. You can see me there. Joseph Tani, I think I'm called there.
Okay, yeah, okay, yeah. I gotcha. Okay,
Ma- it- Yeah.
I'll catch
Yeah.
you.
Joseph Tani, Yo San Pedro. I use Yo San Pedro more like my real name,
Danny, no,
Joseph.
you're there, but it just didn't.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's hard to
There, and
the
if,
phone.
if you make another surprise call like this, you'll be very welcome anytime.
Okay, sounds good. All right, Joseph,
Yeah.
thank you very much. And say goodbye to everyone around the world.
Okay, say goodbye to everyone around the world, all the world around everybody.
Yeah.
Hello, blessing, blue colors, turquoise colors,
Yeah.
bless everybody. Right.
Yeah. Blessings, everyone. Have a good day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you, Dan. Thank you.